So you basically, I mean, we obviously know each other for ages, but you were living in Melbourne and then you relocated like fully to Perth
Mhm.
and then created your own business, started your own business. That's taken off, just doing really well and continuing to grow, which is awesome because I'm just like sitting here from Melbourne watching this. And then basically just you've been able to go travel, do what you want, come back, and you're just living this like awesome life, which is just great to see. So I guess if we were to start somewhere, I kind of want to know like what's your story so far up to this point, just like briefly, and then we can
Yeah,
go a little bit more into detail.
yeah, let's do it. Cool. Okay, my story. Well, I've actually never fully sat down to talk about it. And like, it's happened in combos, but like to be here and actually discuss it is like a whole other thing. But I guess, well, to start from the start, I feel like it probably began in 2020, where a lot of things started for people and a lot of things ended for people. But yeah, that year I moved over to Perth at the very start of the year with my brother Corey. He wanted to play waffle footy over here. It's like a league under AFL, and he got invited to play. So I decided to pack up everything and come over with him. And that lasted for like 2 or 3 months because then obviously COVID hit. And him and I were just living out of home for the first time ever by ourselves. I lost my job. I was doing like a sales job, like selling like raffle tickets outside supermarkets. Like I was that
Nice.
person everyone tried to run away from.
Nice.
But it was really good because it taught me how to cope with rejection, which was like, wow, profound. But yeah, I was doing that job and then that stopped. And then footy stopped and we were both sort of in Perth with no jobs. Our rent had to be paid, our bills had to be paid. And we were kind of like, this isn't going to work. No one knows when this will end. So we ended up packing up everything into Corey's 2003 Commodore wagon. And we decided to cross the Nullarbor back to Melbourne just to be with family and just to have stability because no one really knew what was happening.
Hmm.
Uh, Looking back, I really didn't want to leave. I loved Perth. It was like the most beautiful place I'd ever seen. I was really content here, but yeah, I didn't really know how it was going to pan out. So went back to Melbourne. We crossed the Nullarbor in 4 days, which is like extreme. It was like 10 hours of driving every day. And this felt like I was getting sucked back to do something or like sucked back to Melbourne just to sort of be cracked open. And later that became evident that was exactly what it was.
Hmm.
So yeah, we got back to Melbourne and then Corey's footy club flew him back 3 weeks later because Perth was all good. And I got stuck in lockdown for, yeah, like 7, 8 months.
Hmm.
And then there was like this huge period in 2020 where I was finishing my master's degree online. I did teaching. Was never really sold on teaching, but just did it anyway. And then I also started to jump into holistic counseling because I knew that I was really interested in personal development work. I'd read a lot of personal development books, but I'd never actually spoken to someone myself. And so I
Hmm.
started that, and that just shifted everything for me. It was like all the layers sort of were peeled back, and I really realized who and what I was supposed to be in this life. And then on my last session with my holistic counselor, the borders opened back up for Western Australia, and it was like I was let back in, which was crazy. So yeah, 2020 was like a huge awakening year, and I got back to Perth, and I had so many obstacles in my teaching degree, and one was that I really struggled to get prac in WA. And then when
Right.
I did find the pracs, they were like very interesting experiences, like very bizarre, weird stuff would happen and it just didn't flow. So I was met with like a lot of resistance with the teaching degree. And then COVID kind of came back in Perth and everyone freaked out. And I decided to offer like sound healing slash meditation classes down by the beach. And it was like bring $10 cash, a yoga mat, and a blanket. And on my third week, I had almost 90 people rock up, which
Wow.
was crazy. I had to have a microphone and everything. And I was like, this is legit. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I just made $900 in an hour. And I was like,
Wow.
wow, this has just completely trumped any degree that I thought I was going to do or any career that I thought I was going to do. And I just saw it as an opportunity to actually do something that I love. And from there, yeah, it's just grown and shifted and molded, and like the evolution of it's been so incredible to witness. But yeah, it's finally in a place now where it's like very consistent and just so aligned with who and what I am, which is cool. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah,
There's so much to go into. I love it. I'm
there's a
excited.
lot.
And it's cool because I've also sort of like just been watching from a distance, um, and keeping up with stuff. And it's just like, whoa! Like I literally remember seeing like you posting stuff on your channel, um, literally like you've got like a microphone or like it's just like a little outdoor area or something that just grew, and now you're in like a studio thing. I don't know what I don't
Yeah,
even know what you'd call it. A
yeah,
studio?
studio. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
studio.
yeah, with like
Yeah.
these awesome cushions and like it's like so professional, and I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
it got legit this year for sure. It
Yeah,
upgraded for sure.
what do you feel like when I guess when we're talking about like coming back to Melbourne, because I think I remember you telling me like, oh, I'm or you something have happened where I saw that you actually kind of didn't want to come back. Maybe we were having some sort of like online Zoom at the time, through this
Mm,
COVID stuff.
hmm.
But like, what was your life like, like in Melbourne, and was it hard to leave that? And I know you liked to be in Perth, obviously, but like coming with like fully shifting, clearly like there's definitely like some difficult things that can come up. What was that whole kind of process like? I want to go a bit deeper into the full detachment of Melbourne,
Yeah, leaving
like
Melbourne.
friends, family,
Yeah,
like the lot.
for sure. Okay, so the first time when I left, start of 2020, that was definitely me running away. I actually had quite an interesting relationship with Melbourne. Um, I was bullied a lot in primary school and high school, and it sort of tainted my view of Melbourne, and grew up in what they call the Bayside bubble as well, which is just sort of this area in the southwest region of Melbourne, I think, southeast.
Southeast.
Um, and it's just, yeah, it was just an interesting place to grow up. I went to an all girls school, and then I went to like a co ed hippie school. And the all girls school, that was not a fun time. That was definitely part, I think, part of like my spiritual awakening. Like when I look back on childhood and adolescence, it's like, yeah, I was constantly being tested and pushed, and I feel like a lot of people sort of tried to like put me in boxes and mold me. And yeah, the online bullying in high school was pretty intense. And then getting bullied at parties growing up, like I remember there was a time where like I had soft drink cans like thrown at me. Like it was quite intense what I went through.
Mm,
Just with yeah, other girls. And I suppose that caused me to really shift and wake up and realize that I've got to love myself enough to be strong enough in those environments and not care about what other people think, which is hard to
yeah,
learn as a teenager. Um, so Melbourne already had a bit of a tainted perspective for me. But then when I did the holistic counseling, I shifted a lot of that. And I eventually didn't hate Melbourne anymore, because I
yeah,
definitely really didn't like Melbourne. When I left, I was definitely fleeing the first time, running away. I'd just come out of kind of a toxic relationship as well. And so it was pretty easy just to up and leave the first time. It was like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm out. And then sucked back, did the healing work. And then the second time leaving was like actually really interesting, because I didn't hate Melbourne anymore. I'd healed a lot of my resentment towards the people and the places that caused a bit of trauma, I guess you'd say.
yeah,
And yeah, the second time leaving was different. And there was a point where I was like, do I really want to do this anymore? Like, oh, I don't know. And it was actually kind of scary. And then that was pretty much gone within like 2 or 3 days. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I was so happy in Perth. And yeah,
nice.
I just knew deep down like Perth was the place for me for sure. So yeah, it wasn't too hard to say goodbye. But yeah, I think that was only because I knew that on the other side, there were some really good things coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like obviously I grew up sort of like similar area. I was kind of like in it but out it kind of at the
Hmm.
same time because like I had a lot
Yeah.
of friends that were not from sort of Bayside area, and I was sort of just like going to school there, and that's sort of it. But what I mean, you don't really have to answer this, but I'm just curious. Like, what do you think it was that made people bully you? Do you because like once we get into this kind of stuff, it'd be you like, and once you start to realize, and obviously like you would have realized this as well. It's like has nothing to do with you. It's
Mm.
it's to do with like the people bullying you. So like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder, like people have insecurities and therefore they like project that onto others. So
Yeah.
it's just like this thing. But like, do you think it's just the way you were, the way you are, or like people
Yeah.
being intimidated by you? Because I know like you're an awesome personality and you're so like yourself, and like I can see how a person who's insecure might see you and be like, oh, like I wish I could be like out like that, like because it's just like maybe they're not like so comfortable within themselves.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, yeah, like sort of what's the process of going through and like debunking
Yeah, for
those
sure.
like traumas, air quotes.
I mean, like, I'll never really know what's going on inside someone else's head, but
Mm.
looking back, it probably was an aspect of people projecting. I mean, everyone's projecting all the time. Whatever someone's saying is typically coming from their subconscious brain, and they don't even really realize that they're doing it. So it was definitely, young girls probably feeling insecure, projecting their insecurities onto other people. But I also think from a young age, I was always very headstrong and very confident and very boisterous. I got called rambunctious in my year 8.
I don't even know what
What's
that
it called when
means.
the teachers write up? Oh, a report. Yeah, I got called rambunctious. Sanchia's far too rambunctious for year 8 French class or something. It was just hectic. So I was just sort of always kind of out of the box, doing my own thing, just living life. And then when I realized that there was like, oh, there's a popular group and a not so
Mm.
popular group, it was like, I'm going to change and I'm going to shift. And I really wanted to be cool. Obviously, everyone does when they're young. And yeah, it was a time where I sort of did start to change and shift and mold myself, and maybe people kind of picked up on that, and it was like, okay, now she's not so confident in herself. It was like year 8, I reckon, where I started to like bend my character a little bit and like
Mm.
shift. And then I think that was when people saw it as an opportunity to like, ooh, she's moldable. We can target her now because she
Mm.
wants to fit in, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it was partly that, or partly at the same time I also kind of didn't really care at the end of the day, and that maybe annoyed people too. I did and I didn't. It was like very interesting, but I was a lot taller than everyone. Um yeah, I don't know. I still don't know. It just I stood out, I guess, and people, yeah, maybe it was tall poppy syndrome, crabs in the bucket theory. I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah,
But
kids are fucking ruthless, I reckon.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the stuff that I mean, just like think about like primary school, and I mean, obviously like my dad's a teacher, as you know. My
Mhm.
sister's also a teacher, and I feel like you just always hear stuff about kids bullying other kids, and like they're just completely savages to each other
Yes.
because like they don't
Ooh.
really know, but also then they're just like they have no like emotional control or anything, and they're just like hear things they hear, they throw it out. They say to other people like things they see, they
Yeah.
start doing them. It's crazy because it's like
Yeah.
it's such like a important time for us to be nurtured properly, and then you just like
Yeah,
put us
for
all together and it's
sure.
just like hell almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I think it's almost led to every person almost having to like come to some sort of awakening because like I can't
Mm.
imagine many people going through primary school like really chill and not really being bothered by anyone and just like already being themselves and like already
Mhm.
knowing who they want to be, and then just like continuing and never changing that and never having any traumas or like incidences that create some sort of traumas or
Yeah.
internal scars or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. School is such an interesting environment, and I had experienced a bit of it in primary school as well, to be honest. Like, I moved schools 3 times in primary school due to us moving house a lot. And it was constantly being like the new kid and then having to fit in again and conform to their standards. And there was a social hierarchy in every different school that I went to. And so I was sort of starting to mold myself to try and just fit in as quickly as possible.
Mm.
And then, yeah, when I got to high school, it was like, I'm still doing this because it's like alert behavior. And I had been sort of bullied in the past in primary school when I was younger, and I knew kids were capable of that again. So I did just want to fit in quickly. And then it was funny because after I left that all girls school in like year 9, I moved to like the co-ed hippie school, really found myself. There was no bullying whatsoever. Everyone was so kind. It was like a very alternative school back in the day. And then it had a year 11 and 12 campus that was casual closed. So again, you were kind of encouraged just to be yourself and no one cared. Like it was so incredible. But then the bullies from like year 9 ended up moving to the campus in year 11. And it was so interesting to be confronted by that again. There was a lot of anxiety that came up when that happened. But then we actually kind of became friends. And I think because I was so confident and comfortable within my own skin by that point, and I was so grounded in that school and what it represented, there was no leverage for anything like that to occur again. So it was really interesting to sort of have that closure of like, oh yeah, I see you, I get you, and like I'm okay with it now because I'm okay with myself. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was huge. Like high school initiated me a lot into like a spiritual awakening where it was like I got to dig up some stuff and work through it. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't regret it. I'm glad it happened. Like it taught me how to be strong for sure.
Yeah, we all sort of do. I think like everyone. I was speaking to my girlfriend's mom's partner, and
Mm-hmm.
he was telling me about how he's just having like some sort of thoughts about the world and thinking that most of the reason why our world is so damaged today is because a lot of men have a lot of unhandled trauma, and obviously because we live in this patriarchy, there's a lot of men in powerful positions, and over time this sort of become the thing, and they're all just very hurt men, and
Yeah.
that sort of just evolved to continuously be like hurt men, hurt men, hurt men, not handling things, not dealing with things, not even knowing how, maybe not even know that they need to, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
like no one's fault, but it's interesting when you get into like deep within, and as you know, like I love this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I love doing this sort of work on myself. But and I literally said this in the last podcast to my friend Connor, um, how important vulnerability is, and like
Oh
being
yeah.
strong in your most vulnerable point and position. And if you can literally withstand like anything and be completely vulnerable in any position, any time, any situation, like it's almost a superpower because
Yeah,
you
definitely.
can't be nothing can happen to you because you're like, here is my softest part, and then
Mm,
whatever else anyone throws at you, you're like, it doesn't matter, you know.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like so important. And I it's obviously like people, of course, that you've met and I've met who in their lives have been um still like never vulnerable or hard to feel vulnerable or be vulnerable,
Mm,
and then you start talking about like guilt and shame and all sorts of things. But
hmm.
what what would you tell 17, 16-year-old Sanchia
Yeah.
if you were to go back to her while she's in a dream, I don't know,
Yeah.
and tell her some words of wisdom? What would you say to her?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've done some meditations where I've actually gone in and done this. And yeah, for that teenage version of myself, it would definitely be just hang on in there. Like it's gonna get a lot better. Um, don't change yourself, just be yourself. And there's nothing to fix or change ever. And you're enough just as you are.
Mm.
And yeah, just stay connected to your values and what feels good for you. And anything that's not making you feel good, just leave it, ditch it. There was a lot of times where I was forcing certain friendships or connections and they weren't serving me anymore. And it was important to like recognize that and walk away from it when it was time for sure.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a really that's a hard thing I find, at least in my life. Not that I'm really trying to let go of people, but I've noticed that like ending relationships is a hard thing for me. I probably like
Mm,
take that down to like my relationship with my mom, obviously, because
mm,
she's just like I spoke to a couple people, and it kind of came out that it's like more of an abandonment thing that I think I've got, because she's just like gone, or like never, she didn't leave, actually we left, she just never came back
yeah,
or visited. And I think throughout my whole life I've always just like had a good relationship with someone, and I just want to keep it, like keep it.
yeah.
And you can see it like I think in my whole like family sort of thing,
Mm.
like my siblings, but it can be so hard.
Oh
and
yeah,
and it's really good advice, I think, to be able to strengthen the bone of, or muscle,
yeah.
of like being able to let go of relationships that are not serving you.
Mm.
It's hard, but it's
It
definitely
it
good because it's
is.
valuable. It gives you a whole new opportunity. And I spoke to my brother's friend actually like a year ago, before he went to India. He went to India for over a year, I think, to do yoga and all this stuff. I
Um,
need to reconnect with him, but he was telling me that it's like the snake the snake's shedding its skin. As soon as it's shedding its skin, there's already new skin coming underneath. And it's like as soon as you're letting go of things, already these new things, new experiences, and new relationships are already coming for you, because it's just like
totally.
how it works. And I'm like,
Yeah,
man, that's so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I literally shared like an Instagram post that said exactly that, like yesterday. That's so crazy that's come
Oh,
up.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I
yeah.
wonder if that's in my subconscious, because I would have seen it.
Synchronicities. Yeah, no, it's so true. Like, I think also like practicing detachment as well. Like, nothing is permanent, nothing stays forever. It's important just to strengthen that relationship you have with yourself, because that's the one thing that you are going to have for the rest of your life.
Mm.
And so, the more connected and aware you are of your values and what you stand for and your morals and what lights you up as well is only going to create a more abundant life,
Mm.
really, in the end.
One thing I notice is like how does one find their values? Because
Yeah.
this is something I've been really good at, of just knowing, like I just have like sort of somehow known, and I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Like this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be like, this is how I want to see myself, this is this person I want to become and be. And then that very thing is like so hard for some people.
Yeah, it is.
What like what do you reckon?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
What did I
How
reckon?
do you do it?
Yeah. I, well, I figured out my values from reading a lot of books,
Mm,
a lot of self help books. But then I feel like, wow, the topic of values is actually huge. Like, there is a lot there.
yeah.
Obviously, we're conditioned from such a young age through like what we watch, who we're with, who we're around, where we are, the stuff we see on our screens. Like, we're constantly being conditioned and fed narratives when we're younger, and that can make it really hard to find what your values are or your true authentic self. And so I think firstly it's really important to like be compassionate with yourself as you are figuring all of that out, because like we've literally been fed so much from our external environment from since we were born. And so it is hard to know what you really stand for. But I think for me personally, what helped was writing down what I actually do value, which
Mm,
is trust, openness. There's so many, I could go into heaps, but peace is a huge value of mine. I want a peaceful life, because when you're peaceful, it creates happiness and contentment, and it just leads to more joyful things. And there's a bunch of values that I think we all have, but it's about getting them onto a page and then kind of highlighting what your top ones are. Like, go for your top 5. And a way that I actually really like to do this is an exercise that I use when I'm coaching people, um, is closing your eyes down and going back to a memory that was really, really profound for you, like really happy, like a positive memory, and just replay the scene in your head. Who's there? What's happening? What's going on? What are you feeling connected to in that moment that made you so happy in that moment? And then when you come out of it, if you've already got some values written down, that's a good point to start highlighting what values were present in that core memory, because that's going to sort of show you and indicate what actually makes you feel really good.
Mm.
If you can go back and do that exercise, it's like crazy what comes up. And maybe it'll be like a new value that you didn't have written down.
Yeah.
But yeah, figuring out your values and being really clear on them is so important, but also know that they can shift and change throughout your life. Like they won't stay the same forever. Some will, some won't. And it's important just to keep reflecting on like what do you value within relationships, within career, with your health. Like there could be, you know, values within those areas of your life as well that you need to stay connected to in order to feel fulfilled, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think writing is super helpful. I spoke
Mm,
to the last person I did a podcast with, Connor. We spoke a little bit about journaling and writing, and it really makes such a difference when you sit there and think about it. Because I think initially when I was started writing and journaling, and I'm even just thinking about my values, I'm just thinking of like stuff that's been taught to me to value, and I'm like, whoa, like why do I value that? It's like
yeah.
not really that much of a value to me. And then like it sort of just changed my whole outlook on it. And yeah, like I think also you you cannot imagine it as while you're growing up, you're essentially just becoming this mirror of the world around you,
Yeah.
and everything that is projected onto you, you then just start behaving and then projecting even that stuff out. So it's so important to find out like who you are,
Mhm.
and obviously there's no like one end goal, like you said, it's always changing and whatnot. But just to even question like, what do I want to be like? Who do I want to be? Like, what's the kind of person I want to be? Why do I want to be these things? And yeah, journaling is such a great way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Are you are you making a course? I heard.
Of course.
Is this
Yeah.
a topic we can talk about?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it was a secret. Probably should ask before,
Nah,
but
I've already got like two that are out.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
I
through obviously doing personal development work, and I should probably also mention I'd been attending sound baths since I was 14 in Melbourne.
oh
So
what
yeah,
what I didn't know that. Really?
yeah,
When?
yeah, yeah. So this, I can't believe I didn't mention that. It was like, it was pretty much the only way I got through the bullying was there was sound healing to go to on a Tuesday night.
Wow.
And that really helped me to figure out what I value and who I am because I was constantly coming back to myself on
Mm.
pretty much like I'd say like on a monthly basis. I was going to a Tuesday night sound healing. Tala actually took me to my first one. So
Oh right.
she introduced me to this whole world, which was crazy. Her and her hippie mum. Um, so yeah, started sound healing when I was 14, and through that process of like sitting with myself, I became really clear on who I am and what I do value. And I was sort of meeting myself in honestly, like, I want to say like different dimensions because, like, when you do a
Mm.
sound healing, you can drift off and float away. And some people astral travel during their sound baths and they end up sort of looking down on their body. And you can just have the wildest, trippiest, craziest experiences without taking drugs.
Hmm.
And I think that's why I loved it because it was just such a beautiful way to connect with myself and turn inwards. And so, since doing sound healing from age 14 up to now, age 25, I've had a lot of time to like sit with myself and figure out what I value and do that inner shadow work from that meditative state, which is
Hmm.
just crazy to like be in such a neutral state of mind and then to go back into memories that pop up and just find the lessons within them. And so through doing that for like, yeah, the past decade, I learned that it's definitely a passion of mine to help other people access this and help other people in their journey as well and bring a holistic approach to the whole concept of like shadow work and healing work and transformational work.
Mm.
And so after facilitating for like the past 3 years with sound baths, I decided I kind of want to help people on a more personal level. After sound healings, a lot of people come up and they share their experience and they kind of open up about what they're going through. And I realized sound therapy is amazing, like sound healings are great, but some people do need to talk through stuff with someone. And so, yeah, I decided to create some courses because even though I didn't go down the teaching route, I still really valued that 6 years of study and doing my master's
Yeah.
in teaching. And I do love helping people as well and teaching all of the tools that have helped me along the way. And so, yeah, I have 2 courses now. One is called Embodying the Aligned Feminine, and
Hmm.
that's mostly working with women to help them learn about feminine, masculine energy and how to connect more with your feminine energy. Because, yeah, if women are living out of their masculine energy 24/7, they're going to feel really tired and really burnt out and really lethargic.
Mm.
So I learned a lot about polarity and feminine and masculine energy last year and the year before, but really I've been uncovering that for many, many years. And so, yeah, I've helped, I think, over 50 women in that course already,
Oh wow.
which has been insane. And yeah, there's another online course that's 7 weeks, and that's kind of like a deeper dive into transformational work and healing work as well.
There's a couple of things I want to touch on there here,
Yeah.
but I guess the first one is like how how do you feel you have gained confidence to be in a position to be teaching people this? Because I think I'm similar to you in the fact that I love to help people and teach people and help people develop and grow. Like I love doing that.
Mm.
Super rewarding. But then at the same time, I sometimes have this thought of like, well, like I who am I to be teaching someone this stuff? Like I
Yeah.
have no
Yeah.
like 10, 20 years of like research and study into anything.
Yeah.
Like and that's obviously just like a blocker for me because
Mhm.
anyone can teach anything if they can teach it, you know.
Sure.
Um, so like, did you face that feeling
Mm,
at all?
definitely. Oh yeah, imposter syndrome was real in the
Mm,
beginning. It was like, am I actually capable of doing this? But the way that I saw people respond to me after sound healings and the
yeah.
way that I realized I am able to hold space for other people because I've held space for myself for the past decade,
Hmm.
it's taught me that I do have the capacity to hold other people in their grief or in their shame or just through speaking. And it took me a lot of time to really integrate all of it. But
Mm,
and I'm still integrating a lot. Like every after every course, every interaction, every sound healing, there's a lot to integrate as a facilitator and to honor as well. Like it's a huge honor to be in this position, and it's
mm,
actually a huge responsibility as well. Um, and I don't take that for granted, and I fully acknowledge like I'm dealing with people's energetic, emotional, physical, mental, and their spiritual bodies to a degree. Like I'm working with all aspects of the self when I'm working with other people, and I think after studying a bit of psychology in school and then in university as well, and then a bit of philosophy and majoring in sociology, I do have that sort of grounded contextual knowledge of working with the mind, and obviously reading a lot of self-help books as well has put me in good stead. But I listened to a podcast not long ago and it was about everyone being an expert in their own lives, and
yeah.
it's so true. Like we are all experts to leveling degrees of our own experiences.
Mm,
Like we're an expert in those fields. And through my own personal experience, I think a lot of people related to my story. And I've been in the dark places where a lot of other people have been. And I've come out the other side now so embodied and aligned with my dream job. And I think people see that and know that that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't aligned in who I am. Like the growth in the business and the acceleration in the business, honestly, none of that would have happened unless it was supposed to, unless it is aligned and it is embodied. And I think people see that, and that's sort of just confirmation that I am really doing what I'm supposed to be doing here in this life. And I'm so lucky to have found that at this age, but it only came from doing the inner work and the shadow work
mm,
and really going into that healing work. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, people relate to that, I think. And, I'll be a teacher for the right people that are ready to learn and are drawn to my ways of teaching will come. And if it's not for some people, that's totally fine as well. Like, yeah, you just end up attracting who you're supposed to attract, I think, always.
Yeah, definitely. I like
Yeah.
that you mentioned everyone's an expert in their own experience, their own life. It's sort of
Yeah.
like part of what this podcast was kind of like started with, because I think I take this similar view. Anytime I
Mm.
meet someone, it's so common to see someone meet someone, and like if they feel above them, they will think, I can't learn anything from you, and
Yeah.
vice versa, whatever. And I feel like I've always been able to see that, and then I think, I don't know, like this person is just a whole new person, whole new experience. They're going to be able to tell me things that I'm never going to experience ever.
Mm.
So I should
Mm-hmm.
learn as much as I can through
Totally.
their life experience, which is the Learning Through Life podcast, this, which is
Love it.
exciting.
Yes.
And yeah, no, I thought that's like awesome, because it's like sort of like what I like to think about.
Yeah.
And going just a bit back before, I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in a couple things. Well, I guess, yeah, I'll list both of them. But one was the gender ratio, like men, women. Have you had a growth in men coming? And I'm really interested to hear about the male experience in particular, doing
Mm-hmm.
like sound baths and healing, because I think just like typically, if you were to think about it, it's like would be a female dominated thing.
Yeah.
And then, not to like put any like stereotypes or
No,
anything,
no,
but I just like
no.
straight off the bat, I would imagine like how I see like the typical Aussie dude, I wouldn't see him stereotypically at sound healing. And I
Yeah.
want to know like what's that transformation like, getting these kind of people in, and like what's their reaction like. But also, so there's that. And then the other thing was, is there sort of like one main like tool or tip or thought process that you see people like commonly have, or go towards, that, or something that works for a lot more of people? Yeah, those are the two sort of the questions I had for that.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so yeah, definitely was attracting more women in the beginning and probably still do attract more women now. Women seem to just gravitate towards the experience more than men, and I think that's because women are comfortable with their emotions. Some women, of course, are
Mm.
comfortable tapping into that side of them, and I also have this foundational belief that all women have a sixth sense. I truly believe it.
I actually agree 100%. Yeah,
Yeah. I
100%.
truly believe it. All women have a sixth sense. And I think because we are the bridges between, the spiritual realm and the physical realm through childbirth, we all have this innate ability to connect with our intuition. And a lot of women come to sound healings to do that. And there's a lot that I could speak into about intuition in women, but
We can go there later.
yeah, okay. But yeah, when women come to a sound bath, it's like a beautiful yin experience because there's essential oils and there's beautiful incense and pretty lighting, and it's definitely got a feminine touch, obviously, because I'm probably running it as well. So there's elements of the feminine very strong throughout. But interestingly enough, when I'm up there doing the sound healing, I'm actually more so in my masculine energy because I'm the teacher. And so I do still get men that come, and a lot of boyfriends come. It's like a good date night idea.
Mm.
But when you were asking this question, this one guy popped up to mind straight away. And it was back in the beginning when it was kind of early days. And you could tell he just didn't really want to be there. His girlfriend had dragged him along and he just wasn't vibing it. And we were doing it outside. So we were on the grass and there was like a beautiful sunset happening, like on the beach, because we were in a park and then the beach was there and there was a sunset. And he came in and he laid down and I sort of went over and introduced myself and he was just very closed off, very shut off and was like, I don't know about this. Like, wasn't very open to it. And in those instances, I just say, go with your breath and just notice what comes up and just observe it and then let it go. And so started playing the bowls and the instruments and took them all on a bit of a journey. And we got out at the end, and he like wouldn't really wake up for a while. He was still lying down, and everyone else was sort of sitting up. And I just went around with some sage, and then his girlfriend eventually woke him up, and he came out of it, and he was like, "Oh my god, yo, where did I just go?" Like, it's like, I'm in a park, but I was not in a park, man. I was like up there. Like, his experience was crazy. He was like, what the heck? Like, why do people not know about this? This is crazy. Like, his mind was blown. Like, he couldn't believe it. He's like, that's the most peaceful I've felt in like my entire life. And that experience was just like, again, confirmation that, wow, men can do this and men really need to do this. And he walked away floating. I mean, he was still grounding down because he had bare feet on the earth. I made him do that because I was like, get back down to the planet. But yeah, he just said it was the most insane experience he's ever had. I had a few regular guys come through in the beginning, and they were guys that were dedicated to uncovering more about themselves and doing the work, and they saw the benefits that sound healing brings. And yeah, now sometimes I get a class where it's like 50-50, but mostly it's women. Yeah, mostly it's women.
What would you, because I know even from my own experience, not me personally, but from people I know, that when they think sound healing, they think I would never do that.
Yeah.
Like they're a man, they think there's no point. Why would I do that? It's silly. I don't want to do it. I would never do it. What? Obviously, this person would be really nice to have in because you'd probably change their complete perspective on it. But
Yeah.
what would you tell those people? Because I'm sure like anyone listening to this, there might be one or two of these people thinking like, like what is this? And then what do you tell those people? Like what if you're gonna say one or two sentences on something to get them to just try? What are you telling them?
I would say you can't knock something until you've tried it. Honestly, you can't. And if you've never experienced sound healing before, it's an experience truly like no other. They are sounds and frequencies that you've probably never heard or felt in the body before. And if something could bring you peace or happiness or clarity, why wouldn't you do it? And I think as well, sound healing is just a way to connect with yourself and with whatever else is out there that is potentially bigger than us in a way that's also very safe and very mindful and conscious at the same time. It's a beautiful way just to experience something new and learn more about yourself. And I think that's what life's all about. It's about experiences and it's about learning about ourselves. So yeah, why wouldn't you do it?
That's really good. That's good. I'll have to try it.
Thank
no,
you.
I've already tried it before. I've not an official one, but Izzy's got like sound bowls and all this stuff, and I love them. I also know like I think when we would have first met, like God, I don't know how many years ago that would have been, but you would have told me this, and I would have been like, nah, like I would have had a completely different perspective on sound healing. And I remember we had a conversation about manifesting. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but I was just telling you like, nah, it's bullshit. Like, doesn't exist. But I think like the issue is that I'm 100% belief in manifesting, and like I think it just sort of just had this massive area of misunderstanding, and you can go and look online and you have like this typical person who explains it and they just don't really explain it to a point that makes sense to someone. And then I sort of like learned more about it and how it boils all the way down to just even like the atoms and the frequency that the atoms of every single thing in the universe are vibrating at. And when you put it down on like that scientific level, I'm like, oh my God, it actually does make complete perfect sense. And then like since then, and I think also since learning about that, I was talking to Izzy about we also had this conversation where I was like, I don't know, I don't really believe it, whatever. But we sort of came to the conclusion that this is something that I have been doing my whole life without realizing it.
Oh yeah.
And even just the way I would maybe go to sleep at night, or just like the way I'm imagining things and like being there, but it's like these things that then I later attained, and I'm like in this position. It's literally like it's been manifesting itself, and it's just like this whole mind-blowing thing
Totally.
that is incredible.
Yeah.
Which,
It
and this is
is. It is.
a whole
Like
other. No, yeah, go.
everything that's like around you in this moment, you have intentionally put there.
Mm,
Like everything that's around you, you've put there, which is like proof that, you do create your reality and you can change it whenever you want. But in order to change it in a way that suits you, you have to be in that vibrational state yourself with your emotions, with, healing work. Like you've got to get to a point where you're sort of clear on things so that you can be open to receiving
mm.
new information. Yeah, it's so wild. There's so much you could talk about there.
There's so much stuff for self-development. It's so good.
It
Do
is.
you what kind of um meditations do you do?
Mm. I do a lot of meditations. I do a lot of guided meditations on YouTube if I find some good ones,
Yeah, yeah.
or guided meditations on Spotify. I've got recordings of myself doing meditations, so sometimes I listen to myself and I
Nice.
meditate to myself, which is cool. Um, but honestly, when I'm facilitating a sound bath, I'm kind of crazy thing to do twice a week, every week.
Mm,
Like it's wild. I really missed it when I was traveling. But yeah, I meditate a lot, and sometimes just in silence to music. I'm always checking in with how am I feeling in this moment, or what am I resisting in this moment. They're like two questions I always ask myself.
mm,
And when you ask yourself, what are you resisting in every moment, you kind of get a little bit deeper and you kind of uncover a lot more, a lot quicker, and then you can shift it and change it a lot quicker as well. And
yeah.
it might be like the traffic, like it could be something so small, or it could be I'm resisting the fact that like I ran out of tea bags this morning, like
Yeah.
whatever it is that's just created that irritability first thing in your day. Like when you can go back, look at that and be like, okay, well, it was outside of my control, let it go. I'm going to go buy more tea bags in like 20 minutes. I'll go to the shops. Like just constantly checking in with yourself is like a superpower, like vulnerability.
Yeah.
But you got to get vulnerable with yourself so that you can be open with yourself to talk about what you're actually resisting. Yeah, that takes vulnerability.
Yeah, what's actually been the just while you're saying that, I was thinking what's been the most difficult. I mean, when I ask this, I'm going off. I'm looking for an answer that you're still working on for yourself. What's been the most difficult part of you that you've been working on, and where have you found the hardest and most difficult challenges?
Ooh, great question. Well, the first thing that came to mind was relationships, honestly.
They're hard. They're hard work.
They are hard work, but they're amazing because they open you right up and they help you so much with your own healing journey, and they illuminate everything that's been unconscious,
Yeah.
and they mirror back to you everything that you've got to work on within yourself as well. So yeah, relationships are definitely something that I'm still, I don't want to say grappling, but navigating, I guess. And probably just staying consistent and keeping my word with health, maybe,
Mm,
or like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Just like being really consistent, but then I'm like, I went to the gym 4 times since I've been back. I've been back for a week. Like I'm actually being consistent so far. So maybe that's something I don't need to work on anymore. But yeah, I'd say relationships are the big one. I'm always working on relationships and learning that when I do get reactive, especially around family, because they are our biggest triggers, like to have compassion and to to go back and try and mend that as best as you can. They're
yeah.
probably the two big things, yeah. But again, that's relationships. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Relationships. Oh man. Of all kinds. They're just you learn so much about yourself. Like you said,
Mhm, mhm.
all the unconscious stuff. You're like, oh my god. Like I
Yeah.
catch myself. just like getting frustrated or annoyed at something. And I'm like, why am I getting frustrated or annoyed at this thing? And it just turns
Yeah.
into this like, oh my God, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And you look at yourself, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And then you just like, it's like a continuous work on yourself for the
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Um, I
Definitely.
read recently that there's three entities in a
Mm.
relationship. It's like you, the other, and then the relationship.
Yes.
This like whole new thing, and you have to treat it as such, like it's whole new other like person or entity. And yeah, it's just like so interesting. You learn so much. I love it.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely
Mm.
difficult, and that would definitely be one of mine as well.
For sure. Yeah, I like that theory, the three entity thing. That's
Yeah,
cool. Because
it's
yeah, you've gotta keep your integrity and like keep your independence in a relationship as well. And I feel like
yeah,
that theory kind of maybe helps with people that get a bit codependent. It's like,
mm,
no, it's you, it's them, and then it's the relationship. Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
I think it also helps like put it put it in a way where if it's me, like let's say it's me and you in our relationship, it's like I see you as you
Yeah.
and not part of the relationship because that's there. And then
Hmm.
that helps me be more compassionate towards you and understanding towards you because it's like you, not the relationship
Mm.
you kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
Which
that's awesome.
I've only sort of recently read this and learned about this, and I'm gonna hopefully try to put it into more practice.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
It's
but
cool.
yeah, it's been a really nice one to see.
Mm.
Now, with your, I guess like the continuing of working on yourself and stuff, like, do you have any? Oh wait, we were sort of. I don't really know how to phrase this, but like we were
That's
talking
cool.
about like health stuff and keeping consistent with that. And I had an original question which I want to ask, which is like your routine. Do you have like a routine about
Mm.
your like what you do every day or a weekly routine of things that you do all the time? Because I
Oh
find
yeah.
like for me, routine has been huge
Hmm.
and probably like the main reason I've been able to grow to where I am today is having like definitely like prioritizing my routine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just curious, like, what's your routine if you have one?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I love routines. And it was really weird traveling for 3 months and living out of a backpack for 3 months, having kind of no routine.
Yeah,
So the last week I've loved routine. I've really missed it. Um, I think I've sort of got this foundational belief that like your time is a currency and you have to spend it intentionally. And
nice.
yeah, when I wake up in the morning, it's resisting turning on the phone straight away, which is tricky, but I'm really trying to stop getting on the phone for the first hour of the morning at least. Like I just need that hour to set the tone for the day. Otherwise, if you pick the phone up first thing in the morning, your whole day is controlled by that phone.
Hmm,
Whereas if you can have an hour to yourself and be intentional with your time in that first hour, you're in control of your own day. And so most mornings I set an intention, I meditate, and sometimes that's a guided one, sometimes it's silent, sometimes it's like trying to remember the dream that I just had because I get a lot of weird messages in dreams sometimes. And then normally I'll journal or I'll start the day with some gratitude and write that down as well. And then it's like to-do list, obviously shower, and then breakfast, and then I normally go to yoga at 9:30. I go to a beautiful yoga studio in Scarborough around the corner. And yeah, I'll either do yoga or I'll do gym. I feel like movement in the morning is so important.
hmm,
If I don't move in the morning, I'll definitely be moving at night, but I just have a more productive day when I just get up and go. Have a matcha or I have some cacao, and that's my coffee. I don't drink coffee. And then normally it's like a work day. So I'm either like doing one on one client consultations or writing up programs for those one on one clients, or I'm developing a new course or refining a course, or I'm listening to podcasts and acquiring more knowledge. I'm kind of always either working on business, working on myself, or spending time in nature or like walk my dog at the beach. The beautiful thing about my job is like my days can be flexible, and I'm so grateful and so privileged not to be in a 9 to 5 job that I can just like go for a walk or go grocery shopping at like whenever during the day. Like I have that flexibility and that freedom, and it's incredible. And yeah, lately I've just been planning upcoming retreats and
Oh
half
wow,
day retreats and workshops. And yeah, there's a lot to catch up on, but I love it and I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah,
nice. That's
that's
so
my routine.
it's so good to hear. I love it.
Mm, thank
And
you.
it's been a perfect segue to the chapter of
Mhm.
business
Yes.
and sort of departing more from the, I don't even know what you'd classify the other stuff, like the inner stuff. And I'm like more interested
Yeah.
now to talk about like your business and
Yeah.
how, like how, because obviously you just like it sort of happened and then you just started learning stuff. So like, what are some of the biggest things that you've learned just about business in general with this? And
Mm.
then what have you learned about yourself through business?
Woohoo! It's huge. Okay. Biggest thing that I've learned through business is that you've just got to show up authentically. And
Mm,
that might sound cliche, and I feel like the word authentic's been used a lot lately, but you really do just have to be your true self. As soon as you start faking or forcing or pushing anything that's not really aligned with who you are, people pick up on that and it does not work. And I don't think I've ever done that, but you just have to be so strong in who you are and what you stand for and what you're doing for people. Like it's very clear on my Instagram bio, on my website, when I'm in those sound healings that I'm helping souls cultivate more peace, balance, and harmony.
mm,
And that's ultimately what I'm here to do. It is to help raise the collective's vibration and raise people's state of being through cultivating more peace, balance, and harmony through sound and frequency. And so that is my very clear objective. And as soon as I got really clear on that, that's when things started to sort of like streamline a bit. And so I think, yeah, being sticking to your word is like a very big thing in business. You have to be consistent, you have to be
mm,
accountable, and you have to be someone that people can depend on. Um, Another big lesson that I've learned through business is that, specifically through my business, it's that you can't help everybody, you can't
yeah.
fix everybody. And I think that was something that I really, really wanted to do in the beginning. It was like, oh, I'm just going to help everyone and everyone's going to have a great experience and everyone's going to love this as much as I do. And the fact is, some people don't love it, and that's okay,
Mm,
because maybe sitting with themselves is too scary, or maybe because they don't feel safe in their body. And so it's really hard to relax and switch off, and it's not a pleasant experience.
yeah.
Or it's because they just haven't really learned the tools, or they don't really know how to do that. And so they find it very challenging and very, very confronting. And that's totally fine. But I used to almost take it personally in the beginning when people looked like they didn't have a great experience. They were restless, they were moving around. I did have one person leave very early days in the middle of one, but I think that's because the mosquitoes were hectic outside. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I'll never know how people really perceive their journey. And
Yeah.
that's not actually for me to know. Like, I don't need to know. And it's a very internal personal process that occurs there on their mat. And I am the facilitator that's helping them to have the experience. I'm not the person that's there to fix everyone. And I think that
Yeah.
was like a huge lesson that I learned throughout. It's like you're providing the space and the opportunity for people to meet themselves. You don't have to go meet them all there. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to stay up here and you've got to stay strong. And that's like a form of like protecting yourself from other people's energy as well. Like, you have to be vibing high yourself, and you have to be very connected and very grounded when you're going into those spaces. Because if you don't, you'll get swept up in everyone else's stuff and you leave just feeling exhausted. So yeah, protecting your energy is another huge one that I've learned too.
Yeah.
Um,
That's it's that trying to fix everyone feeling is definitely something I have grown up wanting to do
yeah.
and feeling like, I mean, I'd also just bring it back straight up to like my family situation and like
Mm,
my mom leaving and like we're just like the family trying to keep it together and make everyone happy and make like that's just like sort of what I was doing and trying to be like,
mm,
and growing up to like see that it can be super hard.
mm,
Um, but also I realized recently, kind of maybe in the last like year, literally like through my relationship, is that people are just like completely different, and you will attract, if you're like putting something out to help a person in a certain situation or a type of experience, like only those who are resonating with it will be the ones that you can even help, because those who
Yeah.
are not resonating with it and or like they're not there or
Yeah.
on the same path or at the same time at the moment, it's like going to be impossible um to do anything, or and then like to then feel like, oh, I want to be able to fix it. It's like, well, it's just not like ready, it's not time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I was trying to read a book actually, Think and Grow Rich, which I just finished, and I literally tried to read it like 3 times in a row. And
Hmm.
then I was telling Izzy, I was like, oh, you should read this book, like it's a really good book. And she's reading it, but I thought about this sort of at the same time. I was like, well, if she just like, didn't want to read it, that's a perfect time where I would be like, okay, we'll just like let her not read it because she's like not ready for it. And
Yeah.
me telling her like read it is not going
Yeah.
to do anything
No.
or
Yeah.
just make it worse. So
Yeah.
learning that has been like super difficult for me, but I think I'm slowly getting there. But yeah, it's a really good skill to have learned, and that's I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. People only hear what they're ready to hear. Always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a way better, more succinct way of putting what I just said. It
No,
was
it's good.
literally like a couple words.
It's good. I had the conversation with my Uber driver in Croatia. Like people are only they're only gonna hear what they're ready to hear. And it took like
Dude.
a half an hour car ride to the airport at the end where he was like, how do I get my daughter just to like be a nicer person? I was just like, well, are you a nice person? Like, and then he was like, yeah, it was crazy, but like it takes time for people for things to
Mm,
land with people. And then eventually I told him I've been meditating for like over a decade, and I started when I was his daughter's age, and so
mm,
he was like, okay, I'll try get her to meditate. I'm like, yeah, but you have to meditate too. Like you're the example as the parent.
yeah.
He's like, all right, I'm gonna try it. Like I don't know if he's trying it, but I hope he's trying it.
Man, the classic Uber drive. They get deep. Those conversations
They
get like
do.
straight to the point.
They
Like you're
do.
like, drunk coming home one night, and then you're just talking
Yeah.
about your deepest parts of your life, or he's talking back, and it's just like a
Yeah.
really wholesome experience sometimes.
It can be, yeah. It's like a therapy session sometimes. Yeah.
Legit. If I were to ask you if you had like a life philosophy, could you tell me a
Yes.
already fully thought out life philosophy, or
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, what do you, yeah,
Yeah.
tell me.
Yeah. Live in the present moment.
Mm,
That's my philosophy. And that's something I live by. And I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If
I was
anyone's
gonna
looking for a
ask.
book, they should go read that. Only when you're ready. But yeah, I read The Power of Now. And have you read it?
I haven't read it. I bought it as a
Yeah.
gift because Izzy read it. She was telling me
Yeah.
how good it was. Then I bought it for a gift, as a gift for a friend, and I
Nice.
have like 20 books that I'm
Yeah,
trying to
for sure. For
smash.
sure.
So I'll get there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was the book that I read in 2020 lockdown that probably almost quite possibly saved my life and changed my life for
Mm,
forever. Like it was a very, very profound read. And basically in that book, Power of Now, it's all about being present in the moment because your life only happens right here, right now. Everything that's ever happened in your life happened in the now moment. And, you know, a lot of people get sad because they think about the past, or they get anxious because they think about the future, but your whole life is happening right here, right now. So you have to be here
mm,
witnessing it. Because, like, in this fraction of a time, like in this very, very moment, nothing's ever wrong. And when I heard that, it was like, wow, the mind is constantly thinking about thoughts from the past or thoughts from the future. Every single thought you've ever had is related to either past or future. And if you can train your mind to just be here in the present moment, and you do that by connecting with your breath or by feeling into your physical body, like feeling your butt on your chair and feeling the clothes on your skin, and you get really, really present in the moment, that's where creation happens. Like, this is where everything transpires, like right here in this moment. It's not happening in the past, it's not happening in the future, it's right here, right now. And as soon as I realized that and actually understood that and embodied
mm,
that, everything changed. Like all my mental health issues, not that I had huge ones, but it pretty much stopped all anxiety. It helps
mm,
with all depression. It's like, okay, I'm just here now. And it's like, oh, the mind's going to try and take you into the past, or it's going to try and project into the future because it thinks that's how it'll keep you safe. And
Yeah.
it thinks that like the next moment, the ego thinks the next moment is more important than this one. Unconsciously, it's like, oh, the next moment's going to be more exciting or something else is happening. But really, that's not true. It's an illusion. And so staying present is the key to happiness and finding joy. Like it all exists right here, right now. And I think once I embodied that, yeah, life changed. And that's what I live by. And it takes practice, but it's about watching your thoughts as well. That's another one. Like thoughts are not facts. That's a huge, huge one. Like the thinking mind is part of the ego, and it's just trying to keep you safe by conjuring up all possible outcomes so that you're prepared. But really, no one's ever going to be prepared for whatever shit happens. Like you just have to stay here in the present moment and know that you'll have the tools to deal with whatever's coming in that
Yeah.
moment.
It's really
Yeah.
good. There's
Yeah.
so much to go into there. I
Mm.
love it. It's like there's so many. I guess like I haven't read that The Power of Now, but I know what it's about, and I have read a lot of other similar books, and it's cool
Mm.
how everyone sort of has their own. Everyone's sort of telling you the same thing, but in a very different ways through their own
Yeah.
experiences, and it's just really cool. Like I think the biggest thing for me is like even like understanding how you attach to thoughts and identify with things,
Mm.
like people identifying like their life as like a certain person or like this type of person or this like even like a hobby,
Yeah.
and they start like identifying with these things or they identify with their thoughts. There was a really good part of Michael Singer. He has I don't know which book it is. It could be The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, but
Mm.
he talks about how you identify with thoughts, and it's like your ego gets hurt, and then your ego's like, "Ow," and then sad, and then you're like clinging and holding on to that thought of sad, but then you can realize like, well, I actually don't need to, like, I can just go be that over there and change. Like, I'm not actually sad anymore. I'm not hurt anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like a thing that we hold on to, and once you
Yeah.
learn to like let go of that, it's literally like groundbreaking. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Literally.
like, dude,
Literally.
I didn't realize like things are not like I'm just way more calm. I'm way more centered. I'm way more relaxed. I'm way more comfortable. And it can be so hard, but it's like it's so weird because it's like so out of your conscious mind and vision and awareness. So when you it is an awakening. It's like you realize something, you're like, whoa, oh my god, and then like your whole life just changes from that point.
Yeah,
And
for
it's so
sure.
cool. Like it's always just so different for everyone as well. Like the moment or how they learned it or something that led to this.
Yeah.
I love to talk about it.
Yeah. You have to definitely notice when you're getting reactive or like when an emotion's showing up, and obviously give yourself the space and the time to like heal through it or move through it, probably is a better word. Like if you're feeling sadness, like okay, you need to give yourself permission to cry. Like
Mm,
you need to release it. If you're feeling anger, you need to release that as well. Like punch a pillow, like write it out, express it, speak it to yourself, hopefully not to other people because typically you're in a reactive state when you're experiencing anger, but get it out of the system, out of the body, like shaking or punching or kicking, like anything that's actually going to shift that energy is so important. There's nothing wrong with anger. I think a lot of people think anger is like a bad thing, or even just emotions in general. People think
mm,
they're bad
mm-hmm,
and it's like weak to express them. The only time when an emotion is bad is when it's not expressed and then it's suppressed, and then it can create dis-ease in the body. Emotions are literally energy in motion. And
nice.
yeah, I love that. Emotions are energy in motion. And
Wow.
with anger, it just needs an outlet. Anger shows up when a boundary is being crossed, and it's there to tell you that, okay, someone's crossed a boundary of yours and you have a right to be angry. Like sacred rage is a way to express anger, like through kicking or shaking or whatever you choose to do to get that anger out of the body. If you suppress it, then anger becomes rage, and then that's when it comes out in moments
Mm,
where you're going to project it onto other people because you haven't shifted it within. And
mm,
I think like you have to validate your emotions, you have to feel through them, because through feeling comes healing. And
Nice.
once you do that, then you can actually just choose to drop it. Like you were saying, like, okay, this is no longer serving me. I've worked through it. I've let it go. Drop it. And you can change just like that.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of reflection to go, okay, have I actually processed this now? Like, have I cried enough? Have I kicked enough? And then it's like, yep, it's out. I'm done. It's like, all right, I'm back in this now moment. In this moment, that problem doesn't exist anymore here. So let's let it go. And you can just shift. It's a choice at the end of the day.
There's also actually an interesting point in all that where you have to basically be able to look at yourself and tell yourself like this ego is like it's wrong. Like I'm not like you have to like go against your own ego basically.
Mm.
And for a lot of people like they can't even either like distinguish them maybe, or they can't they don't want to, like they literally don't want, they like no, I'm right, like it's right, and they just stick with it. And part of that whole like process is being able to be like, oh, like looking at yourself objectively and then being able to tell yourself like, okay, well this is like something that needs to be maybe worked on, or
Yeah.
to look at it from a different angle, not as
Yeah.
the self but as like the higher self or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Ego's a big one.
dude.
Ego's a huge one.
We haven't even got to intuition.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'll just quickly say on ego though, for a long time
Oh,
I thought
go.
it was bad. I thought the ego was bad. I was like,
Mm.
oh, that ego, man, she needs to get a grip. Like I
Mhm.
thought the ego was bad, but it's not. And the ego's there to keep you safe.
Mm.
And back in the day, our ego was, the fight or flight response that happened when a bear was chasing us, or an animal was attacking us, or we were under threat. Like ego is to a leveling degree like the fight or flight response within us.
Mm.
And it's there to keep us safe, but it's only through evolution and our consciousnesses what through evolution, like our egos have overdeveloped and now our egos are constantly overthinking.
Mm.
And that creates a lot of anxiety and depression. So yeah, just like watching your ego and watching your thoughts, and just almost some people give their ego a name, like they call it something, and it's like, right, I'm watching you when you come up in those thoughts, like I'm gonna question it, and I'm just gonna reflect and unpack things in that way, which is something everyone should learn to do for sure.
Yeah, and it's like important to just like your ego is just hurt, really.
Yeah.
Like your ego is just a hurting thing. That's things have happened to it, so it's like, and at that time it didn't feel nice, so they put up this layer or shield, or like I've had so many conversations where I literally like you imagine this ego of just like multiple layers but in different areas around you from different experiences and different things, and it's like you just have to see like what it is, see it for what it is, which is just like it is literally a protective shield thing for you, especially while you're developing as a child and you're growing up. And this is probably why we have so many issues in society, because people actually grow up and they're not really being nurtured in the way that allows them to flourish.
Yeah.
But instead they're being brought up in a, I don't know, whatever way, they're getting traumatized, their parents or whatever, their friends, everyone's projecting onto each other. It's just this massive mess, and then you have this ego that you then need to heal.
Yeah.
And it just turns into like, you just got to understand that it really is like nothing more than a protective layer that is it's trying to love you and take care of you. And if you don't look at it like this, it's like, oh
yeah, absolutely,
thank you so much for doing all of this stuff so far. I'm gonna now try to take this in my own hands and develop this and mold this in my own way.
Yeah, for sure.
And for someone for even one person to listen to this and say that or imagine that, that'd be awesome, because that's like a massive first step, I think.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right, now I know we didn't get to intuition. Maybe we should just touch on intuition shortly.
Yeah.
Because I literally, like, I swear to you, I think that Izzy sometimes is like a psychic. Like straight up, she'll like say something, or she says like, I'm feeling something. And for those listening, Izzy's my girlfriend, and she's like feeling something that she'll tell me, and it's like on the dot, like pinpoint exactly what's going on. And I'm like,
Yeah,
holy shit.
yeah,
That's sort of scary. Like
yeah,
it's real.
yeah,
It's some real shit that I don't have, but I'm trying to really get a bit more involved in my intuition. I think if you could teach people how to tune into their intuition, it would be
yeah.
very, very valuable.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Go.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to connect with your intuition, meditate. Just meditate. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, whenever during the day, find a moment to quieten your mind.
Mm,
And when you can get to the point where you have no thoughts and it's just blank, and then something pops in, that's sometimes your intuition or source, spirit, God, whatever people believe in, coming through and speaking to you. And it's something that you should follow. Whenever a thought comes after a period of no thought, that's something you should follow for sure.
mm,
But you've got to practice meditation so you can get to the point where you have no thoughts. And the muscles of mind, it requires training and it takes time. But the more that you meditate, the stronger your intuition will get for sure. Sound healing helps with it so much. Each bowl's like connected to each chakra as well, and they are energy portals in the body. And as soon as I move to like the third eye chakra bowl or the crown chakra bowl, wow, some people just get the most profound downloads, insights, colors of lights, like crazy experiences happen once you get up there into those higher energy centers and you open people up in that sense. And yeah, sound healing definitely strengthened my intuition growing up. And
nice.
I think all women, like we said before, they are intuitive, but because we live in such a masculine society and, you know, the grind, hustle culture, and honestly, most people have to work a 9 to 5 at the moment just to survive.
Mm,
There's no room for the feminine to step back into her feminine energy and be soft and open and surrendered and intuitive and nurturing. Like those qualities that feminine energy possesses have sort of been shamed in this society. And it's very much so that like the masculine's been celebrated, like, you know, the work hard, play hard attitude, and you got to grind to like have a good life. Like everyone has sort of stepped into like more of a masculine society because we are in a masculine society.
mm,
So people are sort of in their masculine roles, and a lot of women are in their masculine energy a lot of the time. And when they can step out of that back into their feminine energy, they'll connect with their intuition so fast. And that's when just amazing things happen. Like the intuition, like, yes, it's in the third eye, yes, it's in the body, it can be a gut feeling, but I think the womb, there's a lot about females in their wombs, and it's something people should read up on for sure. That is like a portal for intuition to be created and birthed. And
mm.
yeah, it's wild. There's so much to it. Yeah, it's incredible though.
Yeah, intuition's super interesting. Like,
Yeah,
I think just I don't even think like growing up I was even at all attuned to my intuition. Like I didn't grow up with, obviously, like my mom had like no
yeah,
female figure really in my life.
hmm,
And only obviously being in this relationship where Izzy's like grown up with like just her mom and her, and she's
hmm,
like super in tune with it. I was like, whoa, it's really fascinating because it's literally like something's communicating to you, something's telling you,
yeah,
and it's crazy how much like of your life could change off of like one
yeah,
tiny decision, which would have maybe been off one little tiny feeling which you got, and like how many
yeah,
times people say like, oh, just listen to your gut, listen to your
yeah,
intuition, and it's just like
yeah,
led me through this path of my life, and
yeah. Yeah,
it's
it's
awesome.
amazing that you're so tapped into her intuitive side as well. Like, I think that's an incredible thing that any man should be able to do. Like, if there are any men listening to this and they do have females in their life, and I just think, yeah, follow it. Like,
Yeah.
not that women know everything, but like we do have a sixth sense and we do get these intuitive feelings, and it's like you just know when that's an absolute no. You can
Mm,
feel it, but only once you have worked through trauma and you are in touch with your body can you be in touch with your intuition. And Yeah, it's just so important to know what feels like a yes in your body and what feels like a no. And men can do it too. Men are
Definitely,
definitely intuitive.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, when you've got a partner that trusts your intuition and backs it in, wow, it's a beautiful form of intimacy. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so she's studying nutrition, and I
Nice.
never have I ever been so, or never have I been so in tune with the way I feel food affect my body. Growing up,
Yeah,
I'd just be like eating all this stuff and just like eating it, whatever, like not even thinking about it, just eating. Can't like
yeah,
even just bringing awareness to my consumption of
yeah,
not like what it is, but just like how it makes me feel. Oh my
mm,
god, it's exploded this past year,
yeah.
and it's incredible. Like coffee, coffee's a perfect example. I'm drinking a decaf at the moment, but like caffeine, I think is just I never even realized like what it even was doing to me, and how
Yeah,
I would have like a break and then I would have coffee again, and it's like so obvious because I'm sitting here trying to like, okay, I'm gonna have this coffee, see what it feels like, or eat this food, see what it feels like, and it's like, whoa, oh my god, like I didn't even know like this is what's been happening, and I haven't realized it like this whole
yeah,
time. Because
yeah.
you said you don't drink coffee.
No, coffee never worked for
It never
me.
worked for you.
Ever. It never worked. I tried it for a while. I worked in hospital, I worked in coffee shops, and every time that I drank it, it was just tight shoulders, such a
Mm,
physiological response to it. Tight
mm,
shoulders, tense, anxious. It never worked. Even a weak coffee just didn't work. Like I can drink one, but it doesn't make me feel good. So why am I
yeah,
doing it?
yeah.
And then I discovered matcha, and that's like a slow release of caffeine throughout the day, and it's got like triple the amount of antioxidants that blueberries have. Like
Oh,
it's
nice.
insane. Matcha is so good for you. And yeah, I always loved green tea, so I got into that and cacao as well. Have you dabbled in cacao yet? That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
I've dabbled in cacao, sacred cacao,
Yeah.
all sorts.
Yeah. Nice.
Cacao is great. Cacao actually with um
It's a good coffee replacement. Yeah.
yeah, just cacao with a little bit of cayenne pepper in it
Oh yeah. Yeah.
is so
Nice.
good. I actually had it in
Yeah.
Bali. I was like, damn, what is this? And I had it. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, that's like so
Oh, it's so
ridiculously
good.
good.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
little energy boost as well. But
yeah,
yeah, food's huge. I would love
yeah,
to study naturopathy or
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
nutrition.
I should connect you guys. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's really
you
cool.
guys will love each other. I think
Yeah,
she's huge on holistic health and like
love
nutrition,
it.
and it's yeah, it's so cool. She's so smart, and she just brings up like all this stuff that I never would have, I think, even ever been likely to look into.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I imagine is she's just like this half of me that's the complete polar opposite. So we have like a
yeah.
lot of headbutting moments, but
Mhm.
like her brain is literally the part of my brain that I was like missing, and like I'm like the part of her brain that was like missing, and so like
That's so cool.
it's awesome. Like always learning heaps of shit.
That's so sick. Yeah, gut microbiome is so important. If you want
Yes.
to improve your mental health, man, you got to improve your gut. I was just,
Dude,
yeah,
yeah.
wow, yeah. I'm a celiac, so as soon as I eat gluten, like, whoa, I'm rolled.
Yeah. So
Like
she
I'm just
oh
not myself. Is she gluten free?
what is celiac? She can eat it. She'll
Yeah,
just get like really sick. Not
yeah,
really sick, but like
bloated.
she'll get bloated.
Yeah,
Like, let's use the word
yeah,
bloated.
yeah. Suddenly bloated.
But we both know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I genuinely do just get really bloated and like, yeah, it's not a fun time and brain fog. If
Yeah.
I eat it, like, yeah, it doesn't feel good. Stomach pain, that's a big one. So once I cut that out, it felt amazing.
Mm. Psst. Hey you. Yeah, you. If you've made it this far, I just want to say a huge thank you. You have no idea how much it means to me, and I would love to express the immense amount of gratitude that I have for you. If you're enjoying the content so far, your support can truly help the podcast flourish. By simply subscribing, following, and liking and sharing, you're ensuring that our valuable content connects with the right audience, and it helps allow me to bring even more awesome content to you. Thanks again, and I really do hope you enjoy the rest of the episode, and many more to come.
We've
Yeah,
got great memories of like picnics in the park during COVID and we're all getting lit
yeah. Which
because there's nothing else to do.
you remember that one time with your dog.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, that was so bad. Oh, I was feeding my dogs grapes. My dog, grapes. I've got one dog. Yeah, I just kept feeding him grapes. And then you looked at me and you're like, pretty sure dogs can't have grapes. And it's like the most toxic thing up there with chocolate. And I'm like, oh my God, I've given him like 10. Took him to the vet and his stomach pumped. Yeah,
Man,
wow. That,
That
that's
was
so
funny.
funny.
That was a
That
long
wasn't
time
funny.
ago now.
That's scary, but yeah.
God, what? Yeah, that's
He was fine.
2020. It's been more than 3 years.
Yeah.
Jesus, time is going fast.
Time has gone fast. What else?
I just got this little list of things here. Look, I mean, we sort of spoke about a lot of this stuff, but not in
This is
order.
flowing very easily.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad.
Doing
I've
great.
tried a couple different things. Like
No, it's
every
easy.
time I have a podcast episode, I have tried like a new sort of like way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, like
How
including
many have you
things
recorded now?
4.
Nice.
So we're getting there.
No.
I'm trying to make like a little backlog, so I can keep posting like consistently. So if
Yeah.
I miss like a week, then like I
Clever.
just don't post for a week, and that's just like not really. I mean, it's not consistency because I'm not posting. But
Yeah.
look,
Nice.
we can get a bit more into. I mean, look, there we've really covered a lot of this stuff. It's awesome. Oh yeah, this is a good question I actually had for you, which is what has your proudest moment been in the last few years?
Ooh. Ooh. There's so many.
You gotta pick one.
Um,
One now.
one. One of my proudest memories. It's probably, can I just encapsulate like moving interstate and starting up a business as one big
Yeah,
thing?
yeah,
I'm definitely proud of myself for that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. I would be
Yeah.
too.
It sort of just happened. And it was like a calling that came through that I trusted, and I just jumped head first into it. And I copped a lot from family, not a lot, but enough, like
Mm,
to be like, oh, should I be doing this? Obviously, just studied for 6 years. Mum wanted me to be a teacher, and people wanted me to go down that traditional path of working a 9 to 5 and paying off the HECS. And I was just like, this is not for me. I'm out of the matrix, man. I
yeah,
can't do
yeah.
it.
You really
Once
are.
you're out, you're out. It's
You
so hard to go back in.
you really
And
are.
yeah, I'm really, really proud of myself for sticking strong and being different to my friends
Mm.
and just following what brings me the most joy. Yeah, really proud of myself
Did
for that.
you? Cause that's actually probably one of these questions I've written in here somewhere, but because there's so many, it's been mixed. But do you like what was your experience with dealing with people telling you like, sorry, I don't know if you could hear my dealing with people telling you like no, or people's judgment, or people
Mm,
trying to pull you down with them. Like you said,
yeah,
crabs in a barrel, dude, that is so
yeah,
real. They'll tell
yeah,
you out of their own. I mean, it could also be because they're trying to protect you and
yeah,
they don't know any better, but they also
yeah,
could be people telling you this is never gonna work because it's like they wish they could do it, but then they like it makes you doing that makes them uncomfortable. So
yeah.
like, how did you handle this? What's your experience like with that?
Yeah, honestly, again, it comes back to being so connected to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
what you value. And because I'm so strongly aligned and embodied with who I am and what I represent, it wasn't hard for me to just say, like, no, this is for me. Like, I'm going to do this. Like,
Nice.
once I put my mind to something, I'm doing it. And I think as well, after like my friends were so supportive in the beginning, like my new girlfriends that I made in Perth, they came to like the first couple of sessions and they loved it. And I think we all thought it was just gonna be like a little side hobby. And then on like week 3, where yeah, 90 people rocked up, it was like, whoa, okay, this is huge and this is a lot larger than me. And it almost removed me from the equation. It was like,
Mm,
this is about the people. This is not about me. Like, I think then people kind of started to take it more seriously because it's like, okay, there's an actual need for this.
mm.
And yeah, it was quite niche. Like, not many people were doing it, especially not people my age, like 3 years ago.
How did
And
how did it grow so fast? Just social media, like
social media, word of mouth,
yeah, yeah, okay,
and everyone was stressed because COVID was coming back.
yeah,
And it was also like during the time with like, yeah, vaccinations and everything, and everyone was freaking out about it. And so they needed an outlet to help them feel more connected and grounded to themselves. And so, yeah, there was a need for it as well. And I suppose, yeah, at times it's been really isolating, like
mm,
being a business owner. There's no team behind me. Like it's me that does everything.
yeah,
And sometimes I do collaborations with people, but none of my other friends own businesses. And I suppose some people don't really know what it's like. There is like a different sort of form of pressure that comes with it.
yeah.
But it was interesting. Law of attraction. Once I detached from the pressure and like the need to prove to everyone that this is a career and I can make money from this, once I like kind of detached from all that and let go of everyone's projections, that's when it started to flow and become what it is now, which is stable, and it's replaced a teaching income, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, nice. That's it's sick. It's sick to see.
It's very
I'm so glad
special.
I can sit here and watch it all unfold. It's great.
Yeah.
Now I want to maybe we'll just talk about one more topic before we get to the show and tell, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
this has actually been
Cool.
we're going solid, and I feel like we could probably keep going for a long time, but
We could.
I have like work to do. Still.
Yeah, same. Cool.
But one day I won't have work to do, and this will be my work.
Yes,
So
it will.
then it won't matter.
Is that your dream? Is that the dream? I love that.
I think like it'd be awesome. I grew up always thinking to myself like I love talking to people. I wish I could. This is what I told myself when I was a kid. I wish I could sit on the side of the street and have sit in like a glass box, and then someone like a sign that says like come talk and have a conversation if you want, and then that was my job.
You should totally do that.
Was to just like have a conversation with just like regular people and just like anyone basically, like anyone that wants to have a conversation.
So cool. And you should actually do that. That would blow up. That's such a cool concept.
I really could. A
that
podcast
would go
with
on
any
TikTok.
person, just a regular guy or a girl.
Yeah, get a glass box. Totally do it. That's so cool.
I'll look into it. I'll look into the glass box. But the podcast was the first step, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And then it'll get to in person. I'm hoping it will get into person. I think it'll get into person.
For sure.
Into in person, face to face.
I hope so.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move now towards yoga because I wanted to talk about yoga, and we sort of spoke a little bit about yoga. You do yoga. I want to do yoga. You want to also teach some yoga. I also want to do some yoga.
Yeah.
And the thing that made me think of this was you said, oh God, what was it? Something about, we were talking about not emotions, energy and needing to move our energy if you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
It was not exercising, actually. It was when you don't exercise, your energy stays stagnant, and then it's just like it makes your day more difficult. And I cannot explain how true that is. When your energy feels stagnant, and you're like you don't realize until you get up and do something, and then your energy after, you're like, oh my God, that's such a difference. So how long have you been doing yoga, and what has it taught you about things so far?
So the journey with yoga, I kind of always knew about yoga but didn't really start properly consistently practicing until 2 years ago. And I started out hiring out the yoga room in Scarborough for sound healings. And so I was hiring out their yoga room and running sound healings when I just transitioned from outdoor sessions to indoors because of winter. And because I was working in that space, I started to go to some of their classes, and then eventually I found a new space to hire that just felt more aligned. It was like easier. It was very accessible. And so I moved, but they invited me to run weekly sound healing. And then through that, I had a membership to do yoga as well. So it kind of all just flowed and came in like that. And then I did like a 30-day challenge that they were running, and then just got hooked. It takes like 30 days to form a habit or something like that. And so 30 days of yoga, pretty much every day, I just got addicted. And the process of like moving through a flow and trusting your body and that it knows where to go, and noticing how your body feels on the day-to-day and how it changes and it shifts. And then you lie down in Shavasana and it's like, whoa, I've just moved so much and processed so much, and you're using the breath with the movement, which is so powerful. Like the breath is everything. Like it's the first thing we do and it's the last thing we do in life. Like the breath is the anchor, and when you crazy, mind-blowing. And then you're in Shavasana at the end where you're lying down, and all of a sudden it's like a meditation, and all these little things start popping up, and I started following what was coming up, and it just led me to where I am today. And yoga, I couldn't live without yoga now. I
Mm.
kind of had to in Europe because I was living on a yacht for 3 weeks and it was hard to do yoga on a yacht.
Difficult life. Oh.
Yeah, yes, yeah, no, very, very lucky to have done that. But
No, I
I
love it.
really missed yoga. I really missed yoga. It's like part of me now. It's so important. Yeah, everyone should try it. This is your sign to go start doing yoga.
It is your sign to go start doing yoga.
Yeah,
I like just typically like never even really knew. I just thought it's like this thing that people do, like an
yeah,
exercise, but it's like it's
yeah,
really about like mindfulness and yourself, your inner
yeah,
being. I think it just like brought so much awareness to my body,
yeah,
and like this made this relationship with my body so much better. Oh my goodness, like
yeah,
I was playing soccer a lot and getting injured, and I really didn't treat my body well growing
yeah,
up, like not on purpose, but just like I didn't know, I wasn't connected to it. I would never like heal it well. Like I just play
yeah,
injured or do silly stuff and just like
yeah,
whatever. But this is sort of what I realized is like this body is not my body. This body is a body that it's like allowing me to experience this world. And
mm,
when I looked at it that way, I'm like, oh my god, this body does everything it possibly can for me and
yeah,
itself to stay alive and running and whatever. So I should be doing exactly what I can, everything I can for it, and
yeah,
treating it as like this relationship between like this thing we have, meat suit, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
like, and it's not like ours, you know. It's this thing
mm,
where we're lending for our whole
right,
life experience, and that's just like the biggest thing for me. And it's so great.
for sure.
And
It's so good.
yoga has there's this thing I like got on my wall over there. It's so hard to explain. It's this really bad drawing on a piece of paper that it's basically like two circles like this next to each other, and one of them says um, body experience, and the
Oh
other one
yeah.
says mind experience, and then in the
Mm,
circle around that is yoga.
yoga. Nice.
And when they
So true.
legit when you listen and people always say like, oh, mind
Yeah.
and body, I like never even realized what that meant, but then I just
Mm,
practicing and I'm like, oh my god, this whole thing's just like poof,
yeah, totally.
it's crazy.
Totally. Like it teaches mental toughness as well and like
Mm,
mental resilience.
mm,
Like you're put into positions that test you and test your limits and test your ability to perform in a way. And like when you're in those positions and you can't quite get to them, are you going to beat yourself up about it and get
mm,
really angry at the teacher or get just angry at your body that it can't do it? Or are you going to just notice that that's where I'm at? I'm connecting with my breath and you accept and honor where you're at. And it's just this like way of embodying radical self-love, honestly. Like
mm.
you just have to accept yourself as you are and every day you're going to show up differently and that's okay. Like stepping onto a mat and off a mat, it's gonna shift a lot. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
and the best like what you're saying when you're in shavasana at the end, and I feel like the entire body is just pulsing. You can
Yeah.
feel everything, and your energy is just like
Every
booming, and
inch,
it's so
every
great.
corner. Yeah.
Like you can't be in a bad mood
No, you
after
can't.
you
Yeah,
legit can't.
literally.
When I was
Literally.
in Bali, there's a sign. It said like, do yoga once, change your mood. Do yoga like every a couple times a week. I'm butchering this by the way. It was on a sign, so it read really well.
Yeah.
Do yoga like a couple times a week. I'm gonna say twice, and it was like change your habits, and then it was do yoga every
Yes.
day, change your life,
Change your
and it's
life.
like, whew,
Yoga changed my life for sure.
for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, if anyone does want to go and try and look at yoga online, go
Mhm.
to Breathe and Flow on YouTube. Breathe and Flow are really good. Um,
Nice.
anyway, let's get to this show and tell because
Oh yeah, show and tell.
this is
Well,
yeah.
surprise, surprise, it's a sound healing instrument.
Oh,
It's the one
I
that
thought it
was
might
like
be.
the most available.
Let's have a
Welcome.
look. Oh wow. Oh my god.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
So this
see,
is called a crystal singing pyramid, and it's in the key of F sharp, which is the key for the heart chakra. And so
hmm,
when this is played and when it's spun, it helps to open up the heart center, and a lot of people will have like an emotional release after this is played because they're connecting with their heart. And this is what it sounds like.
Oh wow, that's nice.
It probably comes through a bit weird, but then you can like spin it around and everything changes, and it's
That's so
it's cool.
cool. That's so cool. When you said
Yeah.
before, when you said sound bowls and instruments, I was like, oh, there's other ones. There's other things
Other
you do.
ones. Yeah. This
What
is a
else you
big
got?
one that
Oh yeah, the same one. Yeah,
moves a lot.
yeah, that's so cool. Oh my god, I
Yeah.
would love to be in a place where just like I can make some noise. I really want to get
Yeah.
into drumming, like a hand drum.
Yes.
I've
I
just got
use
this
the
like
drum.
natural calling to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
cannot wait to get a drum. Just saving up for one.
Yeah. You're gonna have to come to Perth and I'll drum you. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
wanna
cool.
for sure.
Lying there and then all of a sudden there's a drum going over you. Wow, that shifts a lot of stagnant energy as well.
That'd be
If you
so
don't
good.
like yoga, just go to a sound healing because that's clearing stuff as well all the time. Yeah, so
Awesome.
cool.
Well,
Yeah,
do you wanna give yourself a shout out? What's your sound healing?
yeah.
If anyone is
Um,
interested in Perth, or if you're visiting Perth, go to
Sound healing Perth.
Sound Healing Perth on Instagram.
That's it. That's it. It's on
So good.
Instagram. I just started TikTok as well. That's kind of fun.
Oh, nice.
Kind of weird, but it's on there. And then, yeah, there's a website where you book through. And if you're interested in the Embodying the Aligned Feminine course as well, any ladies out there,
Mm,
all of that's self-paced and online now as well. So you can check that out too.
nice.
But yeah, I would love for anyone that's in Melbourne that visits Perth to come and say hey. It'd be so good to see you guys. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Well, look, thank you. I really appreciate
thank
you coming
you.
on here. I know I haven't released an episode yet, and I'm saving them, so it could be weird to come onto a podcast without it existing technically. So I really,
I
really, really,
loved
really
it.
appreciate it. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate. It's
It's
been so
okay.
good to connect with you and chat. I've loved it. It's been really, really cool.